and we're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a scary 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, the awesome folks at LakerHolics.com, our true friends at the Hoopheads Podcast Network, and everything else that you can do to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break. It is sincerely appreciated. Happy Halloween, everyone. I hope a trick or treat was in the offering for you this evening, and there certainly was a lot of tricks and a little bit of treats, but mainly tricks for today's game between Houston and the Lakers, with the Lakers pretty much putting it in cruise control for the game after the second quarter and easing into a 95-85 victory over the Houston Rockets, a very young, inexperienced team, and it showed quite a bit, often in a game that was marred with turnover after turnover after turnover. It was a very scary game for altogether different reasons, and I don't think this tape of this particular game will ever go and hit the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts. I don't think it'll get there because it was just an ugly game per se. But the Lakers' transition and also commitment to defense and also just pressuring Houston enough to make a whole bunch of turnovers was the key factor here. Carmelo Anthony came off the bench. It was another good performance for him. 2 out of 4, maybe. We might raise up to 2 out of 4 because 8 out of 14, 5 out of 8 from 3, 23 points, and 4 block shots. He actually played defense today. What do you know? There you go for Carmelo. Russell Westbrook, the best stat I like is only 2 turnovers from him. That's the best stat you can say. He got 20 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, almost a triple-double there. Still 9 of 22 for shooting. All right. But you know what? Hey, almost a triple-double for him. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, kind of pedestrian performances for them. 16 and 13 for AD. LeBron James with 15, 4 steals, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds, but 0 for 6 from the 3. Again, it was pretty much a hard game to watch for many reasons, but here today to talk about the game and a win for the Lakers, which, you know, that's the best part about all this. It was a win for the Lakers. It's a good man indeed. You got to catch his latest articles at LakerHolics.com and also his comments today at LakerTom on Twitter in regards to a possible trade for Russell Westbrook. It is LakerTom, and LakerTom, not exactly the most eye-catching game that I've ever seen, but still, a win is a win, no matter how scary or spooky it is.
Actually, the spookiest thing I saw was a couple of moves that I was afraid LeBron got injured when he made that awkward little crawl underneath the basket. And
yeah, he was kind of shaking his leg off there.
Yeah, and it was this was a little bit one of those LeBron having one of those Russ games, you know, where basically you just wonder what's going on. You know, you start off the second half with a couple of 3-point bricks, you know, and he gave up 10 points of the lead there. But overall, you know, you have to be happy about the defense, especially in the first half. To hold them to 35 points in the first half is quite an accomplishment. And this will be the first win we've had where we've held the opponent under 100 points. So that's basically going to definitely help our defensive rating.
There were times where LeBron really tried to lock down. He felt a little bit energetic at times on both ends of the floor.
He played some good stretches of defense there, including guarding multiple players on the same possession. So you could see they came out and they played a good first half. And
he was spry, LeBron.
It just became a little too easy. The threes fell a little too more than you'd think, you know, and then they got a little bit in love with him and started going away, and they didn't end up shooting a high percentage for the game. I thought Houston looked very tentative. You know,
Houston cut it down to 10. They cut it down to 10 in the second half. You're starting to think to yourself, am I seeing a repeat of Oklahoma City? But again, this was a team where they committed their own mistakes on a lot of occasions.
Right.
Of course, the first half, the defense, I think, for the Lakers was bothering them, but the second half, they fell into their own traps.
Yeah, well, this is,
Inexperience.
well, while we held them to 85 points, you have to remember who we held to 85 points, which was the Rockets, which were one of the bottom feeding teams in the league. And we'll see how we do next time. So, it's a difficult motivation game for guys, even early in the season, even when you think their backs would be against the wall because of the criticism and the poor defensive ranking and so forth. But it's a win and a comfortable win, and they didn't blow a 26-point. They didn't blow the 22-point lead or whatever it was at the maximum tonight.
It was 28.
Was it 28?
28 at one time.
Well, that would have been something if they'd blown a 28-point lead. So
after blowing a 26-point lead,
right? But hopefully that sometimes there's a silver lining to those things, and that it does. That old saying that you've got to hit rock bottom before you can start going up again is often very true. And they had several meetings between the players and several people speaking up at the halftime. Besides the three superstars and the coaches, Rondo and Dwight Howard making speeches basically and exhorting the team to play better defense and to concentrate on that aspect of it and to really adopt a defensive identity for the team because they haven't been able to do it so far. So I thought we saw signs of that at various points during the game that were very good. But again, it's a very hard thing to sustain, and we are still shorthanded. So, take it as progress that we didn't go backwards, as long as even if it's not a giant step, as long as it's a step in the right direction without having to make up ground for having to take a step back because you forgot something that you learned from the previous time that you paid a price for something. So good. It was a good effort by the Lakers. And, and the Melo thing is interesting because unlike some of the guys that couldn't shoot with the bright lights of LA shining in their eyes, Melo doesn't seem to have that problem. He's one of those guys that's got that gene that says that shot's going in every time, whether the last 10 missed or not. Doesn't really matter. He's going to take that
He's
shot.
shooting well above 40% on the season.
Yeah. And he's getting real, true, 100% quality, wide open catch and shoot threes, where all he has to do is get that ball in the right set of the area of that pocket that he wants it when he's going up, and it's a pretty automatic shot.
In fact, he's shooting more than 50% on the season from three after what happened in today's game. So excellent work by him. And he actually played a little bit on the defensive end.
I was impressed with the defense that he made. Several times he made great plays.
Well, they kept on making the mistake of going in. They backed him down, and they would go in, and they keep the ball low. So he just rips it away from them each and every time. They just didn't learn. They just didn't learn. That's youth right there.
That's the difference between a young defender and a savvy old guy who's figured out, how to make up for that lack of quickness or jump.
And they really didn't go ahead and take advantage of Melo out there by chasing him out to the line or bring him out on a switch or anything like that. They just tried to play him down low, and that's where the problem is for them.
Well,
among many others.
That's why it'll become a much different series in the playoffs when you play the same team over again, and you have time for them to really practice what they're going to do against you instead of having played a game 2 days ago and then giving the guys a day off so they get some rest. It's hard.
And again,
nobody prepares for those single games that you got during. But although this is a 2-game series, so maybe it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next game because this is one of those few situations where we've got with this MLB back-to-back type stuff that you get an opportunity to do a little playoff type basketball.
As I noted previously, this was something that's, I guess, is going to be a little bit more normal, and we'll see that in upcoming weeks, months, and seasons here for the NBA. It looks like something
better than coming here twice, wouldn't you think? If you were,
no, it's for travel reasons. I get it, and I understand that now.
I'd rather come here for 2 days in LA and play 2 games like that with a chance to stay in the same hotel and.
Well, they've done that before. A lot of teams have done that before when they do the Clippers and Lakers or Lakers and Clippers.
And now they could do it for 4 games.
Yeah. maybe Clippers, Lakers, Lakers, Clippers, or Clippers, Lakers, Clippers.
Yeah.
It could just go back and forth on that. But the most disappointing thing of the day for me, of course, was you not dressing up. I'm in my soccer outfit here for Halloween. You know what? Next year, I think I'm going to have to dress as LakerTom. But that's for another year. But again,
well, I wasn't sure whether when you mentioned costume, first off, you only told me 3 hours ago, not 4, and I was just been looking at the pictures of the different costumes that the NBA players are wearing, plus watching the kids coming and trick or treating. Photos that I got of my daughter and my daughter-in-law and son and the party they were going to and so forth. And meanwhile, I'm sitting here watching the game, and basically I really am not a costume type of guy. So,
gee, who would have imagined that?
Plus everybody, it's kind of funny thing, because I was talking to my wife and I was telling her that what's strange is that everybody we know that is doing costumes, they're doing costumes that are like copying TV characters off of TV shows.
Well, that's because
you must know about this, because it's sort of like a pop culture thing, right?
That is correct. It is a pop culture thing. But
it's just like I asked my granddaughter. I said, "What are you dressed? You're dressed like a little choir girl or something. What's going on?" And she's got 2 friends with her. They're high school freshmen, and they're both dressed in these different things. And she said, "Well, they're all characters from this particular TV show."
And that's because the influence of streaming, my friend. The fact is, streaming.
Yeah, I don't
is
watch
so
any
dominant.
of that episodic TV because I don't want to get hooked up into it. It's sort of.
No, I'm talking about not talking about broadcast television. Broadcast television, unfortunately, right now, the viewership outside of maybe sports, news, things of that nature is now limiting itself. Everybody is, as a whole, is gearing more towards the streaming marketplace with Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus. I could go on, and I do every week on my radio shows, the Pop Culture Cosmos. But it's just the way that our society is heading towards, because streaming is more convenient and easier for us as a society now to watch. So, and plus the entertainment and the content value of what you're getting, the shows are getting much better and much more entertaining and easier to watch for us now in a streaming format than what we saw in past years and past decades from broadcast television. So that's why the influence is there. I can see that.
The variety is, and quantity of choices that people have are dramatically greater than they used to be.
Well, I could just tell you right now, the Squid Game. The Squid Game, last week we reported that has been seen by over 150 million people. That's something broadcast television will never do unless it's a Super Bowl. So outside of that, you're really going to find yourself finding more and more people watching, hey, I caught this on Netflix and I'm liking what I'm seeing, or Disney Plus or Amazon. So that's just the way of the future right now. But see, that's how much of an entertaining game this was, because it wasn't really an entertaining game per se. It was kind of hard watch for both sides, because that second half had its really sluggish moments. But again, a win is a win. We'll take it. Before we go, LakerTom, I do want to say again, I think this was a much better performance for Russ. Yes, I know he bricked a lot of shots, but still,
plus 25 for the
plus 25. You got to give him that plus 25, and the fact he almost got a triple double. But the fact is, only 2 turnovers really is what stands out to me. That I enjoyed the most.
That kept us in the game. Because I don't know, what did we end up with as our total turnovers?
Total turnovers 25. At one time, it looks like they were heading to 30 plus.
We had only 7 in the first half, so we must have had 18 turnovers.
It was ugly. It was ugly in that second half on the Lakers' end. So I'm glad the fact that they ended the game at when they did, because the turnovers were just.
Well, we're probably playing a couple players. We're probably playing some players longer than we normally would play them.
It was only 12, but it seemed like 30, to be honest with you. But
Reeves probably shouldn't have been out there as long as he was, playing as hard as he was. At times, you could probably say the same thing about Melo, that in an ideal situation, he's not a 28-minute a game player. We paid him 28 minutes the other night, and I don't know what we played him tonight, but it was pretty long Pretty long.
20 minutes. He played 20 minutes tonight. But
20
there's
minutes?
one last thing before I head it over to what you're doing
Mhm.
at Lakerholics.com, because there's really not a whole lot to say about today's game. And of course, this upcoming week, the next game is Houston again. So we'll be back on Tuesday for that. But before we head on out, my friend, one thing must please you as a treat for this Halloween, and that was AD starting at the 5
Yep.
with Avery Bradley inserted into the starting lineup. Now, they're going to tell you on the surface the reason why was that
Sure.
Dwight Howard woke up with a stiff
Right.
neck. Yeah, and that's just.
Well, I think that was one of the. I think that was one of the reasons why. You know.
But I mean, you got to admit you liked it. You liked it. You liked it.
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
I did. You know, I mean, I think we ended up with just 15 or 17 minutes for DJ.
Something like that. Yes.
So, you know,
Yeah,
and
17 minutes, 4 for 4. I mean, he's good. He's shooting almost like 90% on the season. If
right.
only that really translated into something really,
Well,
82%.
He made some good dunks. He got open for some lobs and he converted the dunks, and you know he did a fine job on that. You know,
but that's as most you're going to get is 17 minutes.
Right.
Like you said with Reeves, the same thing applies. The more you play him, the more the eyesores start to stick out.
Well, one of the reasons that last year and this year that we ended up playing 11-man rotations was because we really didn't have that 7 to 11 player, didn't have two guys that would stand out and say, hey, wait a minute, you know, those minutes are my minutes. You know, I'm going to play so well that you've got to play me for those minutes. And so you end up splitting the minutes where you give one guy a little more time, and sometimes it's matchup based, but sometimes it's just who gets hot and so forth. But it's not the same as being able to really nail down and narrow your rotation when you like you want it when you get to the playoffs, where everybody really knows their role and the minutes they're going to play and when they're going to play, and it almost becomes deciding, you know, to get to that point is one of the purposes that you go through the long 82 game season. You know, you find out what works with everybody and what doesn't work, and you develop your plan for your rotation for going into the playoffs. And that obviously becomes more difficult when you start off without having any continuity and you're trying to build continuity. And you got 11 new players, that's difficult. Then when you got 4 or 5 of those players out for the start of the season, that makes it even more difficult. So, you know, it'll still take some time for us to get to that point. But I think what's pretty obvious now, and what may be masked over because we're going to rack up a lot of wins just based upon the talent and how well they think the guys are starting to play together. You know, and as we start to get people back, I think Ellington is almost ready to come back in and play. You know, and so as we get better, I hope everybody doesn't forget. Well, for sure, I'm sure you won't forget, nor Jamie will forget the problems that we have had, you know, and the things that are missing in this lineup. I think inevitably we're going to end up, you know, having to make a move, and the team that doesn't, whether it's the Lakers or not, the team that wins the NBA championship this year is going to be a different team than the team that's out there right now, whether it's us or another team. You know, there are going to be major changes that are going to happen at the trade deadline that will affect, you know, who's going to win. And the Lakers have, you know, we've got some problems now that we're doing a better job of fixing and covering up at the moment than we did earlier in the year. And I expect we'll even get better and better at doing that as we move along. And the players get more used to playing each other and develop some chemistry, and the rotations get stabilized as they can. And we slowly integrate the healthy people as they get back from injuries. I think we're going to still be very high in the rankings in the league. You know, we may not be the top seed. I mean, Utah's off to that great start again that they had last time, and
very impressive victory at Milwaukee today.
Yeah, and Golden State, you know, after we played them, I was convinced that they're going to really be a force to be reckoned with. So it just depends, you know. But you know, I think this is a good win if we can come back and improve. And let's say we won by 10 points tonight. I'd like to see us win by 15 points at the next game. Show them that we could make more adjustments. We could make more adjustments than they could to affect it the second time we play them.
This was the second half was really hard to watch on both ends. But again, the Lakers do pull it out 95-85. So I ain't complaining about a 10-point victory for the team. Want to wish everybody again a happy and safe Halloween. Hope it's been a great one for you. Especially a big shout out to Jamie, who is celebrating the first trick or treat with his daughter today. So he couldn't make it on for today's show, but we wish Admiral Akbar all the best for today's show and the Halloween. So wishing the best for you, my friend. But to everyone out there, want to go ahead and thank you for watching and listening. But before we head on out, LakerTom is LakerHolics.com. Give us some reasons why people need to go ahead and check out this week what's going on at LakerHolics.com.
Well, I think one of the things that is always interesting is when you look at Twitter after we lose a game and then you look at Twitter after we win a game, there's such a dramatic difference in the reaction of people, you know. Whether you're a glass half empty fan or a glass half full fan, you're going to find a lot of people that you're going to share the same views with at LakerHolics.com. And you'll find a lot of vociferous and strenuous arguments back and forth as to whether we should panic about this move or that move or what we should do about this situation or that. But it's kind of interesting that you can almost predict that after losses, we seem to be more like the Republicans and the Democrats than just Laker fans. But yet after the wins, everybody seems to have calmed down, you know, and everybody seems to be pretty positive. I think right now the attitude is relieved that we had that great fourth quarter. Now that we've held the team down to 85 points and recorded a win, whether it be the Rockets or not, you know, I mean, there were plays where you saw tonight that, you know, Christian Wood is, you know, he's one heck of a basketball player, and they've got some talent on that team. You know, it's not, you know, they're still an NBA team, and people just don't realize that it really is true that on any given day, any team can beat another team in the NBA. We see it all the time, and if you've played any basketball, you can go down to the gym on a Saturday and you can watch some team get hot and beat another team that you wouldn't think they might never be able to do that on any given day. But it happens all the time. And when you're playing at the talent level of these guys, it's something that's for sure going to happen. I mean, I don't think there is anybody in the league left now that hasn't won a game, you know, and we're in the seventh game in, and every single team, you know, there's nobody who's undefeated and there's nobody that's unwinning, you know. So they had to beat somebody, and every team is, you know, it's not like, you know, it's not like baseball maybe where, you know, you can go all the time and you're playing 182 games to be able to be in a wild card game. But the NBA is a long season, and usually by the time the season ends, people have a pretty good idea who are the teams that are going to be the toughest ones to beat. And it's usually the teams that are playing really well at that point in time and heading into the playoffs. So we're so far away from that it's, you know, like I said, we're not even going to see the same teams playing. And it's going to be an interesting situation because you can already start to see various things that are happening around the league. I mean, we still haven't seen what's happened with Kyrie Irving. He's still sitting there in the same situation, has not made any changes. And Ben Simmons is still working out with the 76ers, and we haven't seen any changes in that. Porzingis now looks like that could be a problem there for the Mavericks, and they're not doing well. So he's going to be a subject of discussions and things as you go forward.
Actually, they're 4-2. They're doing okay.
They're doing okay, but there's still all this talk about Porzingis about not.
Yeah, he's not having a good season. He's starting off
off difficult.
He was out for today's game. So yeah,
and then same thing. The Pacers. You're hearing more stuff now about the Pacers about that.
They're off to a 1-6 start, so they're struggling indeed.
So you all of a sudden you see, and we'll see more and more of this now as the numbers start to level off. And you see a lot of guys who are just off to a little bit slow start catch up, and and things will start to balance. But then some of these teams that are starting off slow and these players who are starting off slow, the talk is even going to get more intense if they don't turn around and their teams continue to do well or continue not to do well. So it's, the whole point of where I'm going at is that one of the things that you're going to see a lot of, I think, in the next, probably starting in the next week is people looking exactly at what's going to happen, because I think this is going to be one of those seasons where there's going to be a lot of big movement at the trade deadline, and the Lakers are going to have to obviously make some moves. We just have too many we have 6 shooting guards now, basically. We have 9 guards on the team. We are so guard heavy, and we don't have, the biggest guard we got is a 6'5" guy. So it's not like we really are we really are missing wings, and we don't even know how Ariza is going to play when he comes back. So those are the big questions, I mean, it seems funny now. 2 games ago, I was chastising you for pointing out our various problems and so forth. Now we've won 2 games, and I'm the glass full guy, and I'm sitting here telling you that we have roster and problems that we're going to have to fix at the trade deadline, and it may cost us some very valuable players that nobody thinks we're going to give up, but it's going to happen. So,
well, there you go. And you can find out more what he thinks at LakerTom on Twitter, or his upcoming articles at Lakerholics.com. Please be part of the conversation today at Lakerholics.com. These are things I talked about days ago. You should listen to me more. You should listen to me more. That's all I'm saying. But you know what? Let's not be a little bit scary out there. Let's hope it's a good rest of the week for the Lakers. Again, starting off the week on a good note this Halloween with a 95-85 victory. Again, not the beacon of basketball playing between both teams, but you know what? A win is a win, and that's surely not a trick. It's a treat for us. But I'll tell you what, LakerTom, looking forward to having you back on Tuesday for the follow-up for the back-to-back against Houston at the Staples Center. So we'll be back after the game talking about that and the week ahead, hopefully as well for the NBA. Looking forward to it, and so many more shows coming up right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Happy Halloween, everyone.